Well, folks, we are here today, back once more in the hostess city that sits proudly in the coastal empire low country region. That is Savannah, Georgia. But more specifically, we're on a field trip here to Great Lake Mare, looking and observing and watching the beauty and majesty and magnificence found in some of nature's most beloved creatures, the duck. As our camera operator Jalen Williams does her fine zooming in work, I want to give you a little bit more information about these organisms. Well, folks, the duck is a bird, if you did not know. It is more specifically part of the family of birds known as taxonomically Anatidae. And for those of you, I would take a large majority who do not know what that means, that is a family that refers to waterfowl. And if you break it down, water obviously being water, fowl being birds, these are birds that dwell, on the riverbeds, riverbanks, lakes, ponds, things of that nature, such as swan and geese. And ducks would definitely fall into that category as we go in for a close up of this duck quartet. I see three with black and white feathered skin, and another, say, more charcoalish, grayish, sort of dull brown one. Oh, it appears we have captured the attention of this duck. My gosh. Staring right into our soul. Just take a look at those webbed feet. Zooming in on those, my gosh. One of the few animals in the world that can fly, technically. Granted, it's not far up the ground, though. Swim across the surface of whether it be a river or lake or pond or stream or what have you. Fly, swim, and dwell on the land. Very versatile, very, very intriguing type of living thing. Back to more information on ducks. Believe it or not, folks, and again, the research that I've collected has proven to show this, ducks do not actually quack. And, you're probably thinking, wow, that's wacky. Well, let me put it like this. I think that's quacky. They don't actually quack. And, I was like, well, what do they do? Well, some of the sounds they make according to reading up on of mine, they squeak, they grunt, they groan, they chirp, they whistle, they growl, which, if you think about it, kind of sounds like a very disgruntled employee after a day of work, but, say la vie, that's life. But they don't really quack, so I don't know who came up with that myth, but I'll tell you one thing, they're probably a quack right now in terms of their personality. And if we go back to observing the Fantastic Four that are these ducks, we see that looks like they're scrounging, trying to get a meal somewhere in the grass. So like all of them are simultaneously pointing their snouts, those duck bills and duck beaks, into the ground for food. And oh, here's we have a delay. Oh, we're back online. Okay. Speaking of food and things of that nature, it should be noted that ducks are omnivorous, meaning that they eat both plants and animals. Some of the plants being grass, water plants such as algae or marsh of the grass, certain fruit vegetation, whether it be a berry or things of that nature, nuts, the whole 9 yards. Whereas the animals that they consume and feast on typically are things such as insects. You're thinking dragonflies, flies, caterpillars, things of that nature. Small fish, maybe a guppy type size, as well as crustaceans. And if you think of crustacean, you think of typically a crab. And boy, I'll tell you one thing is referenced in the crab video of our fiddler friend. You probably don't want to mess with them, really any day of the week, and especially if they're being gulped, gulped down for lunch. That would make them very crabby. So I know I'm terrible at these puns. Okay, um, back to our subjects before us. Appears that they are continuing just to roam around aimlessly, trying to feast on whatever the ground has for them. And oh boy, it appears that a fifth duck has joined in, and now we are getting some aerial shots, and looks like we're getting a different perspective, a different view of Lake Mare. Look at those fine creatures. I guess for now that is all we have time for. Neo signing off.